Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the English shooting live stream. Thank you very much for joining. For you regulars, well, thanks for returning. For anybody new, this is an opportunity to talk about all things shooting, firearms, guns, ammunition, ranges, whatever you want to do, firearms law, what your next gun is, and you can get involved. So please do use that chat box, ask questions, have your opinions heard, whether you agree or disagree. Get involved. If there's something you think we should be talking about, then please put that in the chat and I'll do my best to get through all comments throughout the stream. But we do have one very important thing to be discussing. No, you do not need to adjust your TV set, your iPhone, your computer, whatever you may be using to view this. There is some positive news for UK firearms owners, as it seems very much like we are going to see moderators, suppressors, silencers, whatever you want to call them, deregulated here within the UK. Now, I will caveat, this is not a full gone conclusion at this moment, but all the indications seem to be pointing of that is where we are heading. The Home Office doesn't start doing consultations and putting significant resource, mainly time and taxpayers' money into something if that's not the direction that they think they're going to go. If they're going to do a consultation and all these documents and proposals to just go, nah, we were just messing with you. It just doesn't happen. And I think for once, all of the people that like to say about consultations and proposals from the Home Office, oh, it doesn't make a difference what we do if we get involved, if you respond, because they've already made their minds up. Well, good, because this would be a very, very good point for them to have already made their mind up on, and something that should have been done many, many years ago. I started shooting, well, apart from air rifles in the garden, where I fully started shooting, getting on to 13, 14 years ago now. And even back then, it was a regular discussion in the clubhouse online about moderators, suppressors, again, whatever. I'll just refer to them as moderators. I may switch halfway through the stream, just to keep you on your toes. But anyway, moderators should be off ticket. At the end of the day, they are a metal tube, right? And anybody with half a brain cell knows how to use a makeshift or make a makeshift moderator out of common household objects. The notion that somehow more availability or increased availability or the increased ease of availability to moderators is suddenly going to skyrocket crime or have any impact on crime levels is just absolutely absurd. And it does, or it has been since I've been in the sport, been boggling, the fact that you can go and buy an air rifle moderator, which in some cases are proofed and state that they are okay for live fire as well as the air gun. And you can purchase that without a certificate. You can walk into a gun shop, buy that moderator because it's for your air gun, put it on your shelf, use it with your air gun. But then as soon as you sign it onto your ticket to use with a live fire gun, then suddenly it's a very dangerous firearm and needs to be locked away in a safe. And it's something that I've experienced firsthand. I've said many times on this channel, the moderators on my, I think it was my bedroom windowsill, got the variations for them, signed them on the certificates, and where they had been sat there quite happily, not bothering anybody, suddenly they had to be locked away because they were considered a firearm. It's just absolutely nonsensical, and furthermore produces a huge amount of work for firearms licensing departments, and we can all know that they could do with a little bit of streamlining and efficiency and increased performance. So anything that sort of takes the burden off of them without affecting public safety and danger to the public is an absolutely good thing. So think of the money that's going to be saved, think of the time that's going to be freed, and firearms licensing departments can hopefully, or should hopefully, put that to more productive and important things. So for anybody viewing this from outside of the UK, or maybe you're viewing this inside of the UK, and you you don't know anything about shooting or firearms laws, moderator. Let's really teach you to suck eggs for everybody that actually knows about it. A moderator that is there to reduce sound levels, and this is the crazy thing as well. And we can probably help, or we can probably give thanks to movies and TV for this. But a lot of people think that a moderator or a silencer actually silences the gun, and it doesn't. Like, first of all, if you're using high velocity ammunition, or ammunition that isn't subsonic, you are still going to get that sonic crack, which is usually a lot louder than the bang. You can't quieten the ammo, if that makes sense. Well, there are ways, but most consumer ammunition you can't. And even though it reduces the sound, it's still fairly obvious there's a gun being fired. So it's not in the movies where it's this little whistle, or little it's there's still a bang going on. It just reduces it, and it doesn't aid criminals in being able to go out there and do illicit things. At the end of the day, if the gun is far enough away that you're not going to hear it with a moderator, you're probably not going to be able to see the shooter or the gun anyway. And if they're close enough that you're still going to be able to hear it, then there's somebody still running around with a gun. And what I've said plenty of times is that I'm not really worried whether if somebody's doing something they shouldn't with a firearm. I don't really care if it's got a moderator on it or not. The fact that there is somebody using a gun in illicit ways, in dangerous ways, that is the main concern. But up until this point, and hopefully it's sooner rather than later that this changes, they have to be on a certificate. It is treated like a separate firearm. We've seen this with all the statistics as well in terms of lost firearms. Moderators actually add to that. So if somebody loses a moderator, or if a moderator is a part of some crime, that is an overall +1 for firearm offenses. They treat it like a firearm, and it, for a civilian to be able to own it for hunting, for target shooting, it needs to be on a firearm certificate, and you need to have a slot for it on your firearm certificate, just like any other firearm. And it just really does create a whole load of work with really absolutely no benefits. So what is the proposal? Well, I think the title gives it a little bit, gives it away, but they are looking to deregulate it. The Home Office has released this consultation, open consultation, firearms licensing, sound moderators. We are consulting on a proposal to use a legislative reform, oh, it's getting late, order to remove sound moderators from firearm licensing control. The consultation closes on the 2nd of April 2024. Consultation description: we are seeking views on our proposal to use a legislative reform order made under the Legislative and Regularly Reformed Act 2006 to remove, I don't really care how they do it, just get on with it, to remove a firearm accessory known as a, see, that's interesting, because it's like, yes, it is a firearm accessory, but as far as the law is concerned, it is a firearm, known as a sound moderator from firearm licensing control. Sound moderators currently need to be covered by a firearm certificate issued by the police. Sound moderators are not dangerous as firearms, and removing them from firearms licensing controls does not have any implications for public safety. The proposal is to amend the definition of firearm in section 57(1)(b) of the Firearms Act 1968 to remove the reference to sound moderators. And a very interesting point with this as well. Let me bring up the actual documentation. So this is the report on it all. Actually, before I forget, I'm going to put a link in the, and Major Jim is already asking for it. There is a link to the consultation, so that will take you to the main page that we've just been reading through, and from that page you can find this document which sort of outlines everything, and you can also get to the consultation. And I think it goes without saying at this point that you should most definitely be putting in a response to a consultation. We've seen it a million times, the positive impact that responding to consultations does have. You can sit there and complain and come up with an excuse to not spend 30 seconds of your life putting in what you believe is a meaningless response. It literally costs you 30 seconds and nothing financially. So why wouldn't you? It's people literally spend more time arguing of why not to fill out a consultation than it would actually take to fill it out. So and this one's easy. I think it's something like four questions, and I know a lot of people have said some of them are worded difficult, in a difficult way and a bit confusing. Literally, it's the same answer for every single one that you need to put. So this is probably a 5 second consultation. But anyway, back to the main document, because something that we've touched upon before, blah 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 blah, government's proposal. Let's get to it. I want to find government proposal. Here we go. Sound moderators are currently controlled under Section 57(1)(d) of the Firearms Act 1968, which includes the definition of firearms, an accessory to a lethal barreled weapon or prohibited weapon, where the accessory is designed or adapted to diminish noise or flash caused by firing a weapon. And so far, this flash caused by firing the weapon seems to have been missed by everyone. And this is actually a really interesting point, because it's this bit of the legislation that technically makes, it makes flash hiders, bird cages, a licensable part. And there are plenty of guns. And if you've got, certainly if you've got an AR in your cabinet, I would go and grab it right now. Go and grab, if you've got a flash hider, a bird cage, again, whatever you want to call it, on your gun right now, go and have a look at it, because I would be fairly confident what you will find is a proof mark on it. And this has been this sort of bit of a gray area which we haven't actually been able to find find an answer for, which is concerning. But it's always better to be safe than sorry, so we do treat them as such. But effectively, a flash hider is considered a licensed part. It is from the wording of this, it should be treated as the same as a moderator. It should be treated the same as a bolt, as a barrel, as an upper receiver, or a full gun. Now, spirit of the law and reasonableness and all of that. Most people have a flash hider knocking around in their drawer in the UK. Certainly if you start putting on muzzle brakes or actually a moderator, you will find that you just chuck this bird cage, you chuck this flash hider in the drawer and forget about it. Well, technically, that is still, based on the wording of this legislation, that is still a control component. But let's be honest, I don't think anybody actually does put them away and treat them as such, and everyone's just a little bit grey on it. And I don't even think the police or courts really understand it, which wouldn't be the first time. So an additional plus, obviously the biggest plus here, is getting moderators off of the certification, is deregulating them as they really should always be. And also it makes the whole potential misunderstanding around flash hiders and bird cages and whatever much more simpler, because again, they would be completely deregulated. There would be no gray area. You could leave them in that drawer and not be and not be at risk of potentially violating firearms law. So that's something I haven't seen anybody really pick up on yet, because we're all sort of frothing at the mouth right now with the idea of being able to freely buy moderators. And it's going to be brilliant for business. We've Connors and I were actually talking about it today. Magload moderator coming soon. There's going to be an explosion within the industry, right? People like Wildcat moderators are going to have a very good time if this comes through, because it's just one of those things. A moderator, you can pick up a moderator from like £20, right up to 400 quid, depending on the caliber and quality. But certainly the 20-40 quid ones, if you've got a gun, you're going to go and buy one, right? Everybody likes buying all the add-on accessories for their firearms, and the moderator is now going to be something that you can dip in and out of very easily, very freely. You're not going to have to do variations, and we're going to see an explosion within the industry of people buying them. So, UK businesses, be that firearms dealer, or you won't even have to be a firearms dealer to be able to sell them. I mean, technically, that means you could sell them on eBay. But anyway, that would be far too sensible. So it's going to really help the industry because people are going to go out there, it's not a really expensive thing to go out there and buy, but people may go into a gun shop and walk out with 3 or 4 of them in one go. It will make it a lot easier to try different moderators. We always have this issue of eh, making the decision about going and getting a gun, finding out that you actually don't like it. There's something that's better for you out there. But once you've got it signed onto your certificate, you then have to sell it, obviously, and then get a 1-for-1 variation or get an additional slot put on there for another gun. And it's very tedious. With moderators, it's exactly the same process. I ended up going through 2 moderators before I settled on one that I actually wanted, and really liked the quality of and the effectiveness of. Fortunately, they were airgun moderators, so I could try them out sort of before I bought them. Well, before I signed them onto the ticket and actually started using them on the firearms. But it's still, certainly when you get into the 223, the 308 moderators, it's a lot harder because funnily enough, they don't tend to make 308 airgun moderators, or not widespread. So people will be able to go out there, buy a moderator. They will test it out and go, actually, yeah, it was 150 quid's worth of mod, but I'm not really getting on with that. I'm going to buy another one, and they might not get on with that one, and then they buy another one. So it's just I think it's gonna be a mini energy boost for the industry, which is going to be very uh yeah, very well received. So obviously there's this consultation. We have a quick look at the consultation, but I also want to really stress the history and sort of longevity of this discussion. So this is the consultation, the link that I put in earlier. If you follow that, it will lead you to here, and it literally is just 4 questions, or 5 if you want to put any other comments. And I really would stress that you put some other comments on this consultation, which I will get to in a second, because again, this is a golden opportunity. They're in the mindset of streamlining things, of removing illogical firearms legislation, and not necessarily just making it easier for people to get into the sport and buy firearms and guns and all of that. It's just a more logical approach. So we need to jump on this, and any other suggestions that would make things a little bit more logical, would remove nonsensical sort of restrictions and regulation. This is the opportunity to tie it in, and ride off the back of this. And there are 2 major ones that I think we should be jumping on, which I'll get to in a sec. But let's just have a quick look. I will be doing a proper, full, concise video on this, I promise. Obviously just want to cover this on the live stream because it is pretty major news and want to get it out there as quickly as possible. But for anybody watching this that wants a concise version, there will be one following. Home Office, Sound Moderator consultation. To what extent well, first of all, just spoilers. If you want moderators to be deregulated, if you want them to be off ticket and to be freely purchased, just like, I don't know, an optic, then just go through here and tick strongly agree for every single one of them. That's literally all you have to do. It's going to take you probably not even 5 seconds. Just go through and tick strongly agree for everything and put any comments that you may have. That is all you need to do, right? But number 1, to what extent do you agree or disagree that the requirement to obtain a certificate from the police in order to acquire and possess a sound moderator should be removed? Basically, like, how strongly do you agree that moderators should be off ticket, off certificate? Well, yeah, strongly agree. 100%. I really don't think there's any justification at all to keep them on ticket. Even the Home Office, in in their things. You know, sound moderators are not dangerous as firearms. So, you know, they are themselves admitting there's no danger there, there's no risk there. To what extent do you agree or disagree that there is no risk to public safety in removing sound moderators from licensing controls? So how strongly do you agree that there is no risk? Well, there's no risk. You know, unless people are going to start going around bonking people on the heads, a moderator is not, it does not make a firearm any more dangerous. Again, it does not completely eliminate the sound, it reduces it, right? So strongly agree. To what extent do you agree or disagree that health and safety benefits of using moderators are important? So, you know, do moderators pose a health and safety benefit, and how strongly do you agree with that? Strongly agree. You know, whilst again, moderators do not make things silent, they do bring down the noise levels from incredibly dangerously loud levels to well, less dangerous. You know, over a prolonged period, it probably still will cause some damage, and you still should always use hearing protection. But certainly, it's going to reduce the risk for you losing hearing loss. Anybody that has been to a club with any shooter over the age of 60 would have experienced firsthand the damage non-moderated firearms can do. It's well known that the old boys, or certainly the more experienced shooters among us, had a fairly laissez-faire approach to hearing protection many years ago, and a lot of them seem to either rely on hearing aids, or you end up having to shout quite loudly at. This has been the biggest number one justification for having a moderator on your certificate, is for your health and safety. It's to reduce the risk of hearing loss, not just to yourself, but to others. And in addition, one of the biggest challenges that shooting clubs and ranges and shooters in general face is disruption to the local area, is becoming a nuisance. So it's a double win. Not only if you know, using more moderators out there is going to protect the shooters themselves from hearing loss, but they are going to be less of a nuisance to anybody who's not interested in shooting but can hear them. And I've been a member and shot at many different clubs that have the stipulation that you must use moderators because of planning permission, because of nearby houses. If it becomes this easy and this free to be able to do moderators, to use moderators, yes, I'm sure for the really high end, precise, you know, sort of precision shooting, I'm sure they won't necessarily want to be using moderators, and there is an additional cost to it. But I really don't see why we wouldn't necessarily try or be proactive in using more moderators to make ourselves less of a nuisance. When we're not a nuisance, but people like to think we are because of the noise that we generate. Well, it helps remove that argument and actually helps to protect shooting as a whole going forward. To what extent do you agree or disagree that the criteria for making a legislative reform order, as set out in paragraphs 17 to 21 and summarized below, have been met? The need for a firearm certificate to legally possess a sound moderator is a statutory requirement, and the burden can only be removed by amending the primary legislation. The proposed change to the definition of a firearm is proportionate to this objective and will not impact upon other important control measures in the Firearms Act or adversely affect public safety. It will reduce the burden of keeping a register, simplify security stock takes, reduce the amount of notification correspondence, reduce stock shortage issues pending certificate authorization, and ease the police registered firearms dealers renewal inspection process. The LRO will not prevent the exercise of any right or freedom that is not constitutionally significant. That's a lot of legal speak. So I'm sure if anybody has struggled with any of these questions, it will be this one. I'm not a legal expert, but basically they're using the LRO to be able to do this. So do you agree that the criteria for making this LRO it's been met, right? Well, this is the mechanism that they're using to change it. We want to agree, obviously, that the criteria has been met so that they can make these changes under this criteria. So strongly agree for that one. Strongly agree, strongly agree, strongly agree. And then any other comments. Now, I'm sure absolutely everyone and their mothers are jumping at the opportunity to say to them, ammunition limits, right? Why do we have restrictions on the amount of ammunition that we can store and buy? I completely understand the whole regulation in terms of explosives certificates and having a volume limit of what an individual can store in their homes without needing additional storage measures. You don't want your next door neighbor sat there with 100 kilos of powder in their kitchen next to the hob, right? It's just not going to end well for anybody. So yes, over a certain amount of powder or ammunition, yes, it's going to be sensible to bring in, to still have some regulation that you need a firearm, you need a explosives license, you need the proper storage, and that ammunition is going to be not pose a danger to yourself or anybody else if there is an accident effectively. But the current limits that are in place, which I believe I always get confused on this one, is it 10-20 kilos of powder? It's a certain kilogram. It is one of those things that I have to always look up and check. I'm sure there will be somebody that will jump in straight away and go, it's X kilos, but it's there is a limit of what you can store, and then you need a firearm certificate. That should, for me, be the only limit that is in place, because again, the restrictions on how much ammunition you can buy and store doesn't actually prevent anybody from going out there and stockpiling ammunition. If you have a 3,000 round limit, it just means you can, okay, lawfully you can only buy up to 3,000 rounds and store up to 3,000 rounds, but it doesn't actually prevent you from going out every single day and buying 3,000 rounds of ammunition and stockpiling it illegally in your house. So what is it preventing, right? At the end of the day, you are entrusting somebody with a firearm. You're entrusting somebody with ammunition for that firearm. Why does it matter if they've got 3,000 rounds or 30,000 rounds, as long as they're within that explosives limit? So remove this aid saying it's 15 kilos. Yeah, that's probably why I'm saying 10 and 20, because it's right bang in the middle. It's somewhere around that, but that's about powder. That's not the full weight of the ammunition, which makes things incredibly complex, because you've got to do a lot of calculation if you're storing live ammunition and powder and all of that as well. So for me, I think everybody's feeling on this one straight away is going to be remove the ammunition limits, right? Apart from the powder limit that's in place with the explosives licensing. It's more paperwork, it's more form filling, it's more checking, right? It doesn't matter. Once somebody has 200 223 or 2,000 223, it's like, what? Like, seriously, you're entrusting them with a firearm. Who cares how much ammunition they actually have for that gun? I'm not saying about taking ammunition off ticket, just purely, I have authority to possess 223 ammunition. It's actually a real real headache, certainly for RFDs, because you have ammunition under the RFD register, and then if you go out and use it personally, you have to sign it on, or are you using it under the RFD for RFD purposes? And it just makes a whole mess of it. So remove the limit. But I think absolutely the one that we should be going for and using this opportunity to change is going to be Section 15 of the 1988 Act, which I think everybody should be putting in here to amend it. And they only have to amend one word in that bit of legislation. And for those of you that don't have a clue what I am talking about, the Firearms Amendment Act 1988, Section 15. approved rifle clubs and muzzle loading pistol clubs. Subject to subsection 4 below, a member of a rifle club approved by the Secretary of State or the Scottish ministers by virtue of provision made under section 63 of the Scotland Act 1998 may, without holding a firearm certificate, have in his possession a rifle and ammunition when engaged as a member of the club in connection with target shooting. It's this line that is why we cannot share. So first of all, it's this section that is the Home Office Home Office approved club exemption. It's this bit of the law that allows you, as a member of a Home Office approved club, to be able to borrow and share firearms. Well, rifles and black powder pistols. But it's because of this one word, rifle, that you're not able to share a Section 1 shotgun or a long barrel pistol or a long barreled revolver. And again, if the Home Office are currently in the mood to make more logical changes to firearms law and legislation, and to remove more illogical areas of our firearms legislation, then they should just change this one word to firearms. If they make that change, then any firearm under Section 1, Section 2 would automatically be able to be shared by members of a Home Office approved club. Now, of course, I'm coming at this from a practical stance, but this is one of the biggest issues with practical shooting and our main discipline in the UK, which is practical shotgun, in which you need to use an unrestricted Section 1, unrestricted capacity Section 1 shotgun to be anywhere near competitive, unless you're me with a Section 2, because I'm just rapid. Anyway, yeah, just ask all the people with Section 1s that I beat with Section 2s. They'll tell you. Bourbon review in a second. They changed this word rifle to firearms. It will be an explosion for practical shooting here in the UK. It will be an explosion for practical shotgun shooting. Clubs will be allowed to have club Section 1 unrestricted capacity shotguns as club guns. People will be able to go into a club and from day one fully compete on a level playing field with equal equipment with all of their friends and other club members, right? And that there are endless benefits, not just to practical shooting, but to all of shooting across the UK. So again, whilst the Home Office is in this mood of making things better for us and removing illogical legislation, remove the word rifle and put in firearms. At the end of the day, no gun, no firearm is more dangerous than another. If you are within the confines of a Home Office approved club, if you're a member of a Home Office approved club, then why does it matter if you are shooting a 223 at 800 yards or you are shooting a unrestricted capacity Section 1 shotgun at a steel plate at 20 yards, right? As long as you are being given the same level of introduction and safety and instruction and coaching, it really doesn't matter what gun you are using. Why is this just limited to rifles and black powder? So for me, that is the biggest elements that we should be, the biggest additional comments that we should be putting in on this consultation. Again, as a reminder, so it is the Firearms Amendment Act 1988, Section 15, amend 15.1, remove the word rifle and put firearms, and then also remove the ammunition limits under a firearm certificate. There is absolutely no evidence to suggest, just like in the same way of deregulating moderators, that doing those other additional amendments or corrections or changes would have any effect to public safety. it will just streamline things and make things so much more easier. I mean, the amount of time that Hampshire would have freed up by not having to check every single shotgun that I shoot to make sure that it's a section 2, or try and understand the legalities of an RFD using a firearm as an RFD in their course of their business. Just the amount of time Hampshire would save by changing that word rifle to firearms would be immense. They would be able to clear the backlog within a few weeks. Obviously, that's a very centralized, selfish look on things, but it would have massive, massive benefits changing that word to firearms within this new proposal, within this changes. It would make things a lot easier. So that's really the the long and the short of it. You need to respond to this consultation. Again, I will put the link in the chat now, and if you're watching this after we've streamed, I will put it in the comment section and pin it. There is literally no excuse, and I actually haven't made it to the second page yet. So this, just strongly agree, just to highlight, strongly agree, strongly agree, strongly agree, strongly agree, and put in here that you want to see section 15(1) of the 1988 Act, Amendment Act, change to remove the word rifle and substitute it with firearms, and that you want to see ammunition limits lifted from certificates. That's literally going to take you a few seconds to be able to write. Next page, about you. It's interesting that it's all required. I know there's a lot of people that will flinch at this and think, oh, I don't want to give out my personal details and all of this. If you're filling this out, you're most likely a certificate holder, you're most likely a firearms owner. They've got all your details already, so I don't know necessarily who you're trying to hide from. You've given them absolutely everything that they're asking for here and more. And I know there's going to be people going, oh, they're going to know that we support changing legislation and they're going to use that against us. They fully expect that every firearms owner, every shooter in the country is going to be responding strongly agree to this. So you need to put in your full name, your job title, if applicable. I mean, you could just put employed. Secretary, yep. So tick that one. Whatever applies. The date. I would have thought that would be in like an auto fill. Obviously, the coders and programmers at the Home Office are not that good. Anyway, company or organization name, if applicable. If applicable, what if it's not applicable, but it's still required? Jesus. So if you're not responding on behalf of a company or an organization, then I would just put not applicable to that. Your address, postcode. If you are a representative of a group, please tell us the name of the group and give a summary of the people or organization that you represent. Really straightforward. There's really no excuse to not fill this out. And again, all these people that like to say, oh, they've already made up their mind, there's no point. Well, encourage them this time. Like, if their mind is already made up, just give them that extra little bit of encouragement that they are making the right choice here. So again, I cannot stress how long this has been a topic, and to see this actually proposed and offered up, and the Home Office saying things like moderators are not dangerous, is absolutely brilliant. This is one of the things I think a lot of people have been dreaming about for God knows how long. And we've come close previously. We've got the well, first of all, we started to see real significant signs of this. This was January 2023, so over a year ago now, from the Gun Trade News. Both the British Sports Shooting Council, the BSSC, and the Gun Trade Association have engaged with government departments in a coordinated attempt to remove the requirement to put moderators on firearm certificates. So, the fairly known, respected publications, and the BSSC, in terms of representation for shooting sports here in the UK, that is everyone. That is, I always forget. I always forget how many organizations are under it. Just to remind you, pretty much if you're a member of a shooting sports organization, then that organization um, will be covered. I mean, their website is outdated, to be polite. But yes, you've got APSI, BSSC, CPSA, the GTA, NRA, Muzzle Loaders Association, NSRA, Sportsman Association, UK PSA. I think they need to update the logo, to be honest. The HBSA, Countryside Alliance, Institute of Clay Shooting Instructors, DWA, the 50 Cal Shooters Association, and Vintage Arms Association. And, pretty much everybody watching this video, if you shoot in the UK, will be covered by at least one of these organizations or national governing bodies. So, this was being done at a very, very high level. And we also came very, very close to having this brought in a little while ago. Remember the consultation around I think it was the firearms safety consultation that was done again last year. This is where we saw changes to miniature rifle exemption, to component parts of ammunition. But going through a lot of the documentation, one of the proposals, I'm going to just have to try and find it a sec. I literally selected it earlier and now it's gone. Greg Smith, there we go. So this was what date? This was the 13th of March 2023. There was a proposal for the it's the Firearms Act 2023 now, because it's passed and been a bill, but they were trying back then to include it in section 57, interpretation of the Firearms Act 1968, omit paragraph omit paragraph 1D. This new clause would remove an accessory to a lethal barreled weapon or prohibited weapon where the accessory is designed to adapt or diminish the noise or flash caused by firing the weapon from the definition of firearms in the Firearms Act 1968. So they did try to do that, but I think it was 2 days later, March 15th, there was a little note, withdrawn amendments. So that amendment was NC2, and as you can see there, NC2 was withdrawn on the 13th of March. Actually, on the same day that that amendment was put in, they withdraw it. So we have seen a build up to this. It's not really a surprise, other than the fact that you do, like, you're probably adjusting your TV sets and just checking that actually this isn't a dream, and pinching yourselves that they're making a logical step forward with our firearms legislation for once. But it's been a very, very long drawn out topic for many, many years, and it's just fantastic to actually see positive progress. And ultimately, if this is the trade-off, if this is the trade-off with the Firearms Act, I'm just going to remember, I'm pretty sure the third, there were 3 parts to it. There's always so much going on. I tend to need refreshers. Or maybe it was just the 2. It's just miniature rifle ranges and component parts of ammunition. So that's right, because they were going to bring in like high muzzle energy rifle restrictions. They were going to bring in storage restrictions, and they went after air guns. So it literally was just a requirement to have the firearms used at a miniature rifle range under a firearm certificate, or under an RFD, and also it became an offence to be in possession of any component part of ammunition, be that the case, the bullet, the primer, or the powder, with intent to manufacture. If that's the trade-off, if we've had to give up people being able to just buy a rifle under a .23 caliber without a certificate or any checks or balances, and people with any component part of ammunition with intent to manufacture becomes an offence. If that's a trade-off for getting moderators off certificate and deregulating them, I'll take that swap any single day. Certainly, if we can bolt on removing the ammunition limit restrictions and and amend the 1988 Act section 15.1. So if we can, if that is the trade-off, we end up getting those other two things on there, wow, like that's a fair trade, Home Office. Absolutely. I will be jumping for joy on that. But anyway, let me know what you think about it. I can't really see anybody disagreeing with it, to be honest. And I did have a little bit of a hunt around. Where was the stats? If I've managed to lose it, I will not be happy. Here we go. Here we go. So I know this isn't necessarily a 100% true statement, but pretty much every single moderator is used for a rifle. Like certainly the outright majority of moderators in the UK are used on rifles. So you want to look at the statistics. You know, what I was trying to find was how often a moderator is used in crime, if ever used in crime. And I had the tab and it's gone walkies. Literally had it open. Where the... It was right there. Have I X'd it instead of coming off tab? What if I reopen close tab? There we go. No, that's another one. No, that's another one. I had this ready. I genuinely had this ready. No, that's the... Oh, Jesus. There we go. Oh, I'd scrolling right up to the top. This is not what I recognize. This what I was trying to find was basically the statistics on, you know, crime or crime involving moderators. But as a headline, and this is slightly outdated. This was August 2022, but this all I could find from a reputable source right before the stream. Firearm offences by firearm type. Now, you do have other firearms, which technically would include moderators, but literally it would have to include just moderators without you know, a rifle, a shotgun, or a pistol or handgun attached to it. And I really can't see there being that many people going around bonking people or yeeting moderators at people to constitute as an offence with a moderator. But rifles, it's almost inconsequential compared to certainly compared to handguns. You know, oh yeah, handguns, we banned those, didn't we? Yeah, we we made everybody safer in the UK by making handguns Section 5 and not allowing them for sport anymore. And obviously that had a massive effect on crime with handguns. Yeah, increased them. I mean, even imitation firearms are used more than, you know, shotguns and rifles. But rifles, let's just a blanket statement say 99% of moderators are used with rifles. Like, this shows you the level of potential risk, right? Like, crime involving rifles here in the UK, or offensive involving rifles here, is pretty much non-existent. That's got to be 1 or 2%. Probably not even. That's probably only just about 1%. 1% of all firearm offences involve a rifle, right? And I think it would probably be fair, or let's even just be give a lot of leeway, you know, and let's say half of those rifles had a moderator attached. Like, the statistics here, like, just show and scream that moderators' rifles are not an issue, assuming that, you know, all moderators use rifles. But you get what I'm saying. So this is the hard facts of it, and I think finally the Home Office have looked into it and gone, yeah, they've sort of got a point. They've sort of got a point. We're spending all this money and all this time with our firearms licensing, you know, departments, trying to control something that literally is never used in crime. Although they did make Mars and Lever release Section 5 that had also never been used in crime, and they were also rifles that only makes up 1% of all offences, and they still ban those. So tit for tat. tit for tat on that one. The Home Office was not having such a good day that day when they decide to come after Mars and leave releases, but seem to have had a sip of logic uh, since then. So yeah, anyway, let me know what you think about it. I've tried to give you as much information as possible. Please, there is literally no reason why you shouldn't be filling out that consultation, and the importance of filling out these consultations has been hammered home recently. Let me find the article. I knew there was something else I wanted to have ready to show you guys. It's like the worst show and tell ever. This was courtesy of Basque. So just a little bit of a scroll through their news, because it was going to be a topic on a previous live stream, and then yeah, I wasn't able to do the live stream. This is the power of responding to consultations. HSC request extension to timeline on lead ammunition restrictions, purely due to the volume of submissions. The move comes following the HSC's consultation last December on the social economic assessment of restriction proposals. More than 8,000 submissions were received, including at least 5,000 from Basque members via our website. So 8,000 submissions is holding up and delaying and, well, effectively having a positive impact by just delaying it with the lead ban, right? There are over 500,000 certificate holders in the UK. First of all, there should have been 500,000 responses to that consultation, and if they've needed, I think it's something like is it 6 months they've asked for? 6 months. Did they actually say how long the extension is? But it's going to be months, right? If they need months worth of extension for 8,000 submissions, like, you could delay this. We could have potentially delayed the lead ban by decades if all 500,000 certificate holders plus responded, right? That's the power here, right? You do have a voice. You can make a difference, even if it is delaying. Although, saying that, we don't necessarily want to delay this consultation on sound moderators. We want it to come in as quickly as possible. So maybe no one should respond to it and it just gets put through as quickly as possible. But no, we need to check zero the Home Office on this and go, yes, you're not doing something stupid here. You're doing something very, very sensible that should have been done a very, very long time ago. But there is power in responding to these consultations, which is why every single person should be doing it. Let's have a look what you guys are saying. Again, this is an interactive stream. If you've got any opinions, any questions, any topics that you want to bring up, then please use the chat section. And I did forget at the beginning of the stream, more importantly, don't forget to hit that like button. We've got like near 100 people watching and only 41 likes. If you're watching and not liking while you're watching, hit that like button and make sure you are subscribed as well. So starting off, obviously the most important announcement from the comments that I need to make, just remember, we can have knives. Thank you, Happy. There's, yeah, Happy for PM. Maybe that should be an additional comment as well to this consultation. Just remind the Home Office that we can have knives, just in case they've forgotten, as Happy thought we had all forgotten. Happy, got to get yourself a Section 5 cutlery license. But no, we can have knives. We can have knives. Sporks are dangerous. Thank you, M. Gabriel. The moist. That moist. Interesting choice of username there. EnglishShooting by deregulated. Does that mean they will be legal to send in the post? Or is that just the case that FAC owners will no longer need to declare them? See, so you can apply some logic on this with airgun moderators, right? So an airgun moderator is not section 1. It's not certificated here within England and Wales. Sorry, Scotland, or sorry to the Scots. But you still can't post. Oh, it gets. This is one of these really messy. I think as an individual, you can post an airgun moderator, but a gun shop can't, which is ridiculous. Don't hold me to that. There still might be the case, obviously, that you can't send them. I don't know. I've never actually needed to post a moderator. I would assume, and I would hope, that being not considered a firearm and completely off of our firearms legislation, well, if it's completely off there, then none of the offences in terms of transferring, in terms of posting, in terms of shipping would apply. So I would be pretty certain by deregulating them, by pulling them off of ticket, you would then be able to send them in the post freely. Which again will only help with trade, will only help with the industry. Silvermine 203 extra comment to help boost that YouTube algorithm. Again, something else you can do is hit that like button to boost the YouTube algorithm. Chris, strongly agree to all 4 questions. Basque and others agree. Absolutely. Yeah, Basque have a bit of a page on this. They were very quick on it, which is great. Chip Mika, here's hoping, hey, a decent chunk of work removed from our FEOs, hopefully. Absolutely. And with absolutely no risk and no downsides. There literally is no downsides to doing this. The deregulation is small, but is a small but necessary bit of common sense. Let's hope for more. Ollie, absolutely. You could just walk into Tesco and buy a knife, but a gun, it's so dangerous. Yeah, well, America sort of personifies that by you being able to buy your knives, your loaf of bread, and a gun at Walmart. Depends on the Walmart, because certain states now Walmarts don't sell guns, but it still gets me. As many times as I've been out to the States and as many different Walmarts I've been in, it's still there's still a novelty to walking down. Oh yes, you've got your TVs, your bread, your milk, your underwear, and your guns. It's like I'm born in the wrong country. Absolutely. Beard is looking good. Thank you very much. I have been thickening it out. It's not so spray on as Connors says at the moment. My wife isn't as approving. So we'll see how long this lasts. Can't wait to see the GCN's take on this, the Gun Control Network's take on this. Absolutely. And actually, I don't really give a toss about them. So I hadn't actually let's just see if they've already responded on this. It will most likely be humorous. It's going to be like, no, don't do it. It's think of the children. It's news and reviews. Nothing there at the moment. Gun types and issues. Do they actually have a thing? Air guns, converted, hang imitation, others, paintball guns, rifle, shotguns. They don't. What's other? They literally actually don't have any moderators. They don't talk about moderators at all on their website. Press releases, one gun, one license. I missed this. Yeah, it's just a bit like whatever. Anyway, I'm on the GCN's website. There's no mention of it at all. I'm sure it'll be quite hilarious to see their response. A lot of you guys saying that you've already filled this out and done it. Fantastic. If you haven't, do it. There's no reason not to. Happy they're not flash hiders, they're muzzle devices. Officer, isn't a moderator technically a muzzle device? Happy. Anything that goes on a moderator is technically goes on a muzzle is technically a muzzle device. I don't know how well that would hold up in court. I don't have any flash hiders. They are all muzzle brakes. Yes. A fun fact: the Magload muzzle brake, the 2.2 3D printed one, guaranteed up to 10,000 rounds, which you can buy from magload.co.uk and any good gun store. Other good quality muzzle brakes are available. The Magload muzzle brake isn't actually a technically a muzzle brake. It's a compensator. So there's reasons for calling it a muzzle brake, which I will not get into. But it's not actually legal. It's not legal based for once. It's not us just trying to, you know, get on without being harassed by Hampshire for once. But anyway, the yeah, it's again. The firearms officers that came to take my guns couldn't tell the difference between a rifle and a shotgun. I really don't know that most firearms officers out there are going to know what a muzzle brake is, what a flash hider is, or whatever. Like, what's this? Oh, that's a bit of plumbing equipment. It's got a proof mark. Yeah, high pressure plumbing. Frank O'Grady, at least ES is keeping us uniformed about the subtle changes in law so we can do something change in law so that we can do something about it. Hence what I said about Callum doing more for the community than anyone else. Fact. I really appreciate that, Frank. You really don't need to make my head any bigger than it already is. Just had a thought, Callum, for PM. Could you imagine? Oh, yes, I could. It would be brilliant. It would probably be just as fun as if I was to win the Euro Millions. I wouldn't be one of these people, oh, never change me. Oh, there'd be a lot of change. Oh, there'd be a hell of a lot of change. I wonder if oil filters will be covered. Yeah, I was trying so hard not to go down that road. Why are you talking about oil filters? This isn't a car channel. Moving on. Slight interjection. Bourbon of the week. Can't remember what it actually is. It must be a good one. Russell's 10. Russell's Reserve 10. My parents, bastards, actually went out to America recently for their regular pilgrimage to Disney World. Yes, I am a Disney baby. Fight me. Not literally a Disney baby, but you know, major Disney nut. Is it any surprise that we went there for honeymoon? There's really like any celebration, major birthday, Disney, honeymoon, Disney. I could have potentially even had my stag do there. That would have just maybe been a bit excessive. But anyway, they went out to Disney and left me behind. But they did bring back a lot of bourbon for me. So, and cigars as well, which it doesn't. I mean, I had to pay for it. Don't take me. They leave me here. Don't take me to America. Go to Disney World and make me pay for my own bourbon. And I had to look after the dog for 3 weeks. It's part of the reason I wasn't able to do a stream for 2 weeks. So you guys lost out because I had to dog sit, and they made me buy my own bourbon. My mother may be watching. But anyway, they managed to bring back. You can get it in the UK, Russell's 10, but it's one that so many people rave about. It's very rye. Is it rye? Rye whiskey. No, not rye whiskey. Wheated rye. I think it's got. Yeah, rye. It is rye. Just got to check myself. It's not a rye whiskey, but it's very. It's got like a large proportion of like rye to it. So it's got that sort of rye taste. But I can understand why so many people rave about it. There are a number of bourbons that I will be sampling on stream over the next few weeks, including 120 proof Knob Creek, which I that one I will definitely need to make sure I have a big dinner before. But anyway, Russell's 10, Russell Reserve 10 gets the thumbs up from me. Tony Butty, get rid of ammunition limits, except say 10k for 2.2. The only limit should just be on the quantity of powder. Daniel wants Happy to jump on him. What you two get up to in your evening and your own time is up to you guys. We are not to judge. Just try and keep the chat as clean as possible. I really don't know why you'd want someone jumping on you that likes to point out that we can have knives all the time. Could be an interesting evening. Blackstone, arguably the ammo limit is designed to minimize the amount of ammo that could be stolen if someone were to have their safe broken into. That's actually a very, very good logical point that I'd never actually thought of. How do we get over that one? So, yes, if it's stolen, well, it's got to be separate from the guns anyway. So, you know, as long as you're keeping it separate, yes, you get gun safes that have the cabinets inside, but maybe that's a compromise, right? You have to have an actual separated safe, you know, separate from the guns, not internal to the cabinet, separate from the guns, like an actual dedicated safe for ammunition. So again, the police work on layers of security. They don't, any security measure with an indefinite attack is going to be compromised, right? So you can never 100% rely on security measures, but it's about slowing people down, right? If you've got two separate safes and they only have enough time to, you know, get one of them, well, they're either going to end up with a lot of guns or a lot of ammunition. One is completely useless without the other. So yeah, I think it's a fair point, Blackstone. But you know, potentially you have tiers, just like we do with guns. You know, I can't remember I'm actually going to do a video on this very, very soon because it is needed to progress the series of how do you get your firearm certificate, which is about storage. But there are Home Office guidance which says, you know, anything between like 1 and 5 guns, you need X amount of security measures. 5 and 10 is Y, and then 10 plus is Z, and you know, above 20 you need a RFD level security. Why not just actually switch it, you know, use that method for ammunition? If you're going to store up to 10,000 rounds of ammunition of any caliber, then you can use the internal or separate safes. If you're going to have over 10,000 rounds of ammunition, you know, between 10 and 20,000 rounds of ammunition, then you need to have a monitored alarm, CCTV, so on and so forth. And you just have tiers. If the potential risk increases of that, you know, if that ammunition or those firearms were to be stolen, in terms of, you know, that risk being the increased quantity that would go missing, then you can counter that with increased security measured and additional layers of security. So actually, I think that one could easily be overcome. Susan Carter, I believe that the question is only asking for comments on this consultation and not asking for comments on other subjects. Yeah, but they've put a comment box. Yeah, not necessarily restricting what you can put in there. So I still would use it as an opportunity to put it their way. You know, if they're going to go to this sort of work on moderators, they might as well change other things that make absolutely no sense. Or certainly makes a lot of sense to change, and doesn't make a lot of sense keeping them in place. It's sort of like a 3 birds, 1 stone. Why, like, again, why didn't they do this back at the firearms, you know, the Firearms Act 2023? Why wasn't this done a year ago? And they're just spending more time and resources doing it now. Let's just get all the things that we all can agree on are sort of meaningless restrictions and regulations, bin them, get them out of the way, free up time, free up resources, and you focus on the important things. Ollie, but we don't have rifles and pistols. We only have long and short firearms. We've had this discussion, and Black Guinea Pig, where is he when you need him? Black Guinea Pig proved me wrong. It happens quite often. Yes, technically within Section 1 you have long and short arms, but there are legal definitions of rifles, there are legal definitions of shotguns. Yes, there isn't a legal definition of an LBP, but let's just not go down that route right now. There are these definitions, and when it says rifle, it means something with a rifled barrel, right? So that is not a smooth bore shotgun. And yes, the LBP is sort of a made up term by the police and by the Home Office and firearms licensing. And yes, there have been people that have successfully challenged this in court and been able to get LBPs under a club certificate, because they do conform to the definition of a rifle within the firearms law. But the police, rightly or wrongly, treat them differently. The police, firearms licensing, and the Home Office don't consider them as rifles, even though they meet the definition. So they are separate. So therefore, they don't come under that exemption of being able to share rifles and black powder. Don't ask, don't get. Absolutely. They've put that comment section there. We might as well use it. Remove the need for a variation for like change of firearms would be a nice change. Absolutely. Again, if this whole thinking of the Home Office is about streamlining things, is about removing needless bureaucracy and taking up time of firearms licensing departments, like a one-for-one variation, a like-for-like, if you're selling a 223 and buying another one, that should be able to be done by an RFD at the very least, right? Why can't an RFD officiate that process? Especially as you're normally trading in a gun with an RFD, or worst case, it's like, okay, I'm going to sell a gun to my mate, or a friend, or a gun trader, or whatever. They've got to meet you at an RFD. The RFD officiates the fact that the RFD could even do the transfer, right, and sort of earmark your certificate and put their stamp and RFD number to say, yes, this gun has come off, this slot is now free, and then they can go out there and buy another slot. There's so many different ways of being able to do it, and one-for-one variations would, just removing that would, or not necessarily a one-for-one, because sometimes you can go from like a 223 to a 308 in terms of one-for-one, but a like-for-like, yes. If you end up selling a 223, you shouldn't need to go in and put a one-for-one variation for another 223. It's like, oh, you've bought your 223, suddenly you might be a danger if you go and buy a new one, not an additional one, like a new one. It just makes no sense. That is a very good point. Thank you for putting that. That's another one to include there in the comments. That moist, again, stunning username. What is moist? I know that moist, but what is that? I'm intrigued. What about asking for handguns to be allowed? Okay, yes, absolutely. Right, I don't even need to read the rest of it. Yes, but ammunition limits, changing section 15, removing like-for-like variations, bring back handguns. That is, even I will put my hands up and say that is quite a jump. I don't disagree with it, and if you feel strongly about it, absolutely put that in the comment section and request it. But we're going after the easy wins at the moment. That is a jump. That's definitely a jump right there. But I don't disagree with that. What about asking for handguns to be allowed to be usable at Home Office approved ranges for IPSC and target practice to grow the sport for the economy? No harm in asking, right? No, there isn't. There's absolutely no harm in asking, and as Happy said, we can have knives. Sorry, you don't ask, you don't get. So you can 100%. And maybe it is something that we should be regularly when we get the opportunity, reminding the Home Office, like, give us back the handguns, right? 50% of offences, the largest proportion of firearm offences are committed with handguns that they restricted to make the UK safer. The majority of firearm deaths are attributed to handguns. It's something like 80 or 90% of firearm homicides in the UK are committed with a handgun. And the numbers increased after they restricted them to Section 5. Happy, that's more than a simple change. Yes, took the words out of my mouth there. But again, I absolutely, I seem to be defeatist, or you know, not supportive of that. Absolutely, I am. I once made a video called "The Handgun Ban is Bollocks." It was talked about in court. Judge wasn't so impressed. Please, Mr. Log Collins, explain to me why you think this legislation is bollocks. How long have you got? It's like... Anyway, moving on. Needless to say, that video is not on the channel anymore. Crypto Sam, agree with all this, but I think people sometimes forget when publicly opening this sport up to walk into shooting ranges, the level of incompetent risk increases. No. Yes, the more people, the, the more people you allow to shoot, the more people that are able to shoot. Well, let's just get one thing straight. Everybody in the UK that has not had a custodial sentence of greater than 3 months is able to go shooting, right? But yes, the more people that take part in the sport, the more knob ends, the more knob ends you will get. And yes, the more knob ends we get, the more potential accidents we may have, the more misuse we may have, which looks negatively on us all. This is exactly what happened with full metal jacket ranges. It's why the miniature rifle exemption needed to be changed, because if you ended up getting a dozen full metal jackets, it was only going to be a matter of time until somebody got seriously hurt or worse. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, but we can counter that. We can make sure that miniature rifle ranges are being run to a good level. The level of instruction is good. We can self-police this to make sure that it doesn't get out of hand. And yeah, we don't necessarily want to be dobbing in each other and being snitches, but like, I'm sorry, we've got to be selfish and look after this sport first and foremost. If there is somebody on the range that is posing a danger to themselves or or anybody else, regardless of if they are a certificate holder or not, it's everybody's responsibility to step in, right? Safety is everyone's responsibility. You do not stand by and watch something dangerous happening. And if somebody is repeatedly dangerous, if somebody is repeatedly incompetent, and you know, people make mistakes. We are all human. Everyone's done it. I'm sure every shooter, hand on heart, can say there was one, yeah, that I shouldn't have done that. Yeah, actually, I made a mistake, and can put their hands up to it. But the sensible ones learn from it, right? Everybody has that brain fart moment, and it does happen. But if people repeatedly do it, if people seem careless or they seem flippant about firearm safety, then you should step in. And if they're repeat offenders and don't seem to take anything seriously, then perhaps that is a matter for the police. Perhaps that is a matter for firearms licensing, because it's not just them or the potential other individual that they may harm in being reckless, but it's the sport as a whole. So we can self-police that. And most of the ranges will, every miniature rifle range that I've been to, any range that you were able to walk in off the street and get your hand on a gun, are impeccably well run. The standards at the likes of Double Juice and the Phoenix Shooting Centre in Barnsley, like the level of instruction and safety there is top notch, right? And I seriously couldn't imagine how any accident would ever happen at those ranges. Touch wood. Like seriously, there's just the way it's approached and the instruction given is second to none at those ranges, and that's what we need to maintain. And when we see places like Full Metal Jacket, we don't necessarily always need to make a change to the legislation, but it should. We as a community should go, stop that, please. Like, whether we need to get the police involved, firearms licensing, or the Home Office, it should be stopped. Do you appreciate powder is a accelerant, not an explosive, unless it's block powder? I assume you mean black powder. Yes, I do. Still wouldn't want to be storing large amounts of it next to my hob, I think is the expression that I used. Crypto Sam, that's easily mitigated by good training and supervision. The sport would die if it wasn't for walk-in ranges. You can't people I guess can't expect people to go through the draconian licensing process just to see if they like shooting. Absolutely. And that's why I keep banging the drum about Double Juice and Phoenix Shooting Centre in Barnsley, because the amount of people that they are introducing to the sport is astronomical. And not even, well, when I say introducing, not necessarily that people continue doing shooting, but just are more aware of it, can actually say, I know what a gun is. I know what shooting's about. I've actually pulled the trigger of a gun and I'm not scared of it now. Like it's just so powerful. Crypto Sam, I agree. Always thought, how are you supposed to know if you will like a gun if you can't even shoot it beforehand? Even shoot it beforehand. Sam Davison, are they including suicides in this graph? I mean, technically, a suicide by gun would be a firearm offence. Let's see if I mean, I lost it earlier. Let's see if I can find it again. Let's have a quick look. Handguns have remained the most common use of non-air firearm, with such offences accounting a source offences involving the use of a weapon. There you go. Firearm offences by type of firearm and offence, category. Violence against another person, criminal damage, possession of weapons, robbery, other firearm offences, useful, public fear, alarm or distress, burglary. Yeah, when they use things like that, you will never know. But I'm going to say probably not. Probably doesn't include suicide in that one. The penultimate ninja, I filled it out. I don't even live in the UK anymore. If I can do it, so can you. Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. They'll probably make it out that you need a section 1 to buy the mods. No, I don't think they will. I think their intention is to take it completely off ticket. Matt, a bit behind the live stream tonight. Scrap 1 for 1. You'll be able to trade in like for like without the need for variation. Absolutely. Part 2 for the FAC. When I reach that point and the couples come to see my house for storage and that stuff, would you have to have the safe pre-bought? This is like literally one of the most common questions on this, and I will answer it for anybody that is I'm guessing KM doesn't have it. Yeah, in terms of safes, no, you don't actually have to have it installed for your FEO interview while the police come round. Sorry to disagree, Stephen. There's no requirement for you to have it. They can still progress your application. The reason you should have it installed is that before they issue your certificates, they will need to check your security arrangements. So basically, by not, your FEO is going to come out for your interview, and usually they will assess your security arrangements while they are doing your interview, or not while they're doing the interview, but while they are there for the interview. So basically to avoid a second visit, because they may go, yeah, guy seems all right, absolutely fine, but we can't give him the certificates because you don't know if he's got somewhere suitable to store them. So it's better to just have it all in one. But don't worry, if you've got your interview tomorrow and you don't have your safe installed, don't worry, it's not going to void your application. It's just going to hold things up. Like, literally, they will just need to book another date to pop round. Now, bearing in mind, FEOs are usually pretty busy creatures. They are all over the place. It means that they can, the plus of that is that they can actually be quite flexible, right? Because if they happen to be driving past, they might just be able to drop in. So it's not like it's necessarily going to delay it for months. You just have to, you're going to have to obviously get the safe installed and security arrangements put in place, give them a bell. It might only, I mean, they might be able to pop around next day. It might only be a week or two, but it's an additional delay that you don't want. So have the safe installed. I'm aware of a couple of instances of people that had the safe, it wasn't bolted to the wall, and the FEO was happy enough with that. They're like, you seem like a competent person. You've got the right safe. I'm sure you can bolt it to the wall sufficiently. Now, yeah, you shouldn't be doing that. I even know a previous colleague that I worked with never actually met their FEO, never had a face-to-face interview, purely dealt with him through email and the phone, and never had a home visit at all. And they issued him a coterminous certificate with a significant amount of firearms on as his first application. So it's not necessarily an absolute no or delay if you don't have your security arrangements in place, although that does present more questions to me than answers, but it's just more sensible to have them already in place. And this is one of the things that I really want to cover in this video of safe storage. There's so many nuances in terms of, yeah, there's guidance on there, but it doesn't actually say where it should be put. And a lot of people go, well, where should I put my safe? And there's a few, not golden rules, but a few unwritten guides that if you've been through the process, you will know about in talking to FEOs, of where to put the safe, where not to put the safe. What happens if you're living in shared accommodation, you're living in rented accommodation, you're living in accommodation where other people will have access to that safe, where how does that all change? And whilst I can't necessarily foresee every eventuality and give guidance on every eventuality, there are very, very common questions and scenarios that come up time and time again. So I will be doing that video. But again, to answer your question, KM, you don't need it installed before your interview. Worst case, it is just going to delay things a little bit more until they can come out and assess the safe at a later date. Disney adults were all in a car. I said I was a Disney child, not an adult. I just want to point that out. I grew up on Disney before it became what it is. But anyway, Elon Musk is currently in the process of driving down the share price and is soon to buy Disney, so we can all love it again. Peter, depends on the FEO. I didn't have to have gun cabinets ready for the interview, just sent the pics later. Yep. Yeah, I've heard of that before as well. How do firearms officers react when they see an AR in your cabinet? To them, it's an assault rifle, even if the caliber is on your FAC. To be honest, when they took mine, they were struggling more to just decide what a shotgun and a rifle was, but there was no comments made about the 1522, the assault rifle that I had at the time. They didn't even say that. However, we did have a number of months back now. We ended up having, it was just, usually there's one of us always effectively on call for magload. And I think it just so happened I was on honeymoon, Connors was off doing an instructor course, and Paul was in London raving somewhere. And there was nobody about to respond to an alarm, and the alarm went off. Fortunately, my dad was about, who is a servant of the RFD for this exact reason, and was able to drive down there and have a look. But we had to make the call of we had issues with the account, like that's it, the internet went down and all of that. This has all been rectified now. We ended up spending quite a significant amount in bolstering things to prevent this from happening again. So yeah, unfortunately, hopefully, we'll never be in a. That's it. So the alarm went off, and we couldn't see the cameras because the internet were down, which was maybe a bit short sighted on our side, on our part. But anyway, we had this panic of, right, what do we do? It's most likely a false alarm. It's probably a dropout of some. If the internet's gone down, there's power cut or something like that. It's probably very, very benign. But also, we could be broken into, and I'm sure the police would rather be called out than have to attend a false alarm than not be called out and somebody is there with a JCB taking away the armory. So they very, very quickly dispatched arm response and had a little look around, and my dad let them in. They needed to see every crevice of the building to be happy, and he said it was an interesting reaction when they got to the armory. And one of the comments was things about assault rifles and machine guns and ARs and all of that. So some have their heads switched on, some know what they're doing, some it does come to an absolute shock to them that people can own this sort of stuff, and that, of course, they say it's an assault rifle. It's not an assault rifle. It doesn't assault anything other than paper, steel, and clay. But yeah, there are some firearms officers that have that reaction, and they had a significant one when they stepped into our armory. Of course, it's pretty much exclusively ARs and Section 1 shotguns and LBPs, and I think the Allen Westlake was hung up there as well. So they're going like, I didn't think they could have a handgun. So yeah, it was funny to hear their reaction. But I have to say, I'll give them credit. Their response time was rapid. It was impressive, which is what you would expect, Haha, hello, yeah, my gun shop's being broken into. Oh, we'll get round to it. No, they were literally there in a flash, which is it's good to know. And I ended up speaking to one of the officers remotely from Disney, as it would happen. And he was like, to be honest, this was a normal PC. He was like, to be honest, the firearm boys don't get out that often. He said it's actually good for them to get a bit of sunlight and a bit of training. So they were all cool about it. I apologized profusely, but they were like, no, we would rather you call us out thinking there was something wrong there isn't, than vice versa. And I guess that's words of advice to any of you guys. If you are ever at all in doubt about the security of your firearms, whether you are a firearm certificate holder or an RFD, phone the police, right? They would rather you did than not. Sorry, Daniel, I was answer your phone next time. Costco has Pepsi Max on sale. I can hear the screeching of Connor's tires from here. Sorry, I was clearing up to leave to be able to come here and stream. So I'd say actually give me a call tomorrow, but I am also busy tomorrow, which I will get on to a sec. I'm just trying to get through all of your comments. The light for light variation can already be done by an RFD in Northern Ireland. So the precedent is there. I didn't know that. That is, well, as AD said, very interesting, Blackstone. Neil Remy, you should become an MP, Callum. Yeah, I don't really have the best track record with campaigning and voting at the moment. Maybe I'll give it a little bit of a while. Not to mention you can still shoot handguns in Northern Ireland. Imagine Thorne's video. Of course, you got to bring him up. Imagine Thorne's video if Callum becomes an MP compared to his one about him as a treasurer. That's just reason enough to do it on its own. Here we go. Callum for Hampshire MP. Hit that like button, absolutely, just as a reminder, please do. It does make a difference. David, did you see that video of a Marine playing a prank on a streamer named Aidan Ross by firing 2 live rounds next to his leg on the range? No, I didn't, and that is not something that I think you should be doing. English shooting, slight delay in my application over 2 years now. Amateur, those are rookie numbers. Until you're over 3 years, Don't talk to me. And the response is still, because COVID. Jesus, getting the feeling it's personal. Join the club. Like, yeah, 3 years, COVID. Well, it wasn't just COVID. It was the fact that they decided to investigate me for 18 months and are still trying to, despite closing that investigation, are still trying to figure out whether I broke the law or not. All the time while allowing me to be a servant of an RFD. It's like, oh, we can't give him an FAC because we might think that he's broken the law somewhere, so we can't give him his FAC, but we're going to continue allowing him to have access to copious amounts of firearms and ammunition and be able to buy any quantity or any caliber of firearm or ammunition that he wants. Yeah, because that's logic. Anyway, Gary, do you think if this is put in place, then the ITAR restriction will be removed on mods from the states like Surefire, SOCOM, and the likes? To be honest, I don't think so. I mean, ITAR pretty much reduced into nothing anyway. I'm pretty sure there were some big significant changes with ITAR recently that made it a lot easier, but I don't necessarily know why changing UK legislation would make a difference to ITAR on the American side. There's actually a number of things like triggers, right? Triggers are not restricted in the UK or in the USA in any way, shape, or form, as long as they're not binary or whatever force reset triggers, as long as they are proper semi-auto triggers, drop in mil-spec AR stuff. There's no restrictions in the US and there's no restrictions here, but triggers do still come under ITAR and makes it quite significantly difficult to import and export them. So, I think there's still going to be import-export challenges, let's just say. Better to have a safe place when they come on a load-bearing wall. Done survey, by the way. That's good to hear. Better to have safe in place when they come on a load-bearing wall. Absolutely. That is what you want. You want the mounting to be solid. You want it basically to be, they're going to have to start disassembling your house to be able to get that safe, not just give it a slight nudge and it crumble off the wall. Aaron T, so how do you explain to a clueless firearms officer that your AR is legal? Just show them your FAC. Well, yeah, like as Dan said, it will be on your ticket. You go like, sorry, they don't issue illegal firearms on certificates. Here's my certificate. There's the serial number. There's the gun. There's the serial number. They match. You can do it a number of ways. You can say to them, if you have genuine concerns of what I have is lawful, why don't you phone firearms licensing? I'll wait. Or, I'd be tempted maybe to go down the line of, I'm not going to dignify that with a response, and I have serious questions of what you are doing in my house with a firearm to begin with if you're not able to demonstrate a reasonable understanding of the law in the first place. But that's just me, and maybe not the best example at times. So, that's I'll give you a similar. I think I've talked about this previously. It's not like I've got all these stories and it sort of builds a picture of harassment and persecution by Hampshire Firearms Licensing and Constabulary against me over the years. But one of these stories, and no, this isn't about the time that they came challenge me about 3D printing firearms. It was shortly after losing the tickets. A friend bought a Stoker M3000 for me to use as a Section 2 in competition, because I obviously couldn't use at the time a Section 1. And I ended up putting a post on EnglishShooting. I think the post is still up there. I might have modified it after the reaction that it got. But I put a post up at this gun shop today to pick up a Stoker M3000 for me to use in competition, right? And bearing in mind, the judge at the appeal said your friends can buy guns, not buy me guns, but buy guns for you to use. They can, have guns on their tickets that you can make use of and stuff like that. It's all all above board. It's not a straw purchase, as some people lay out. There's loads of people that buy guns specifically to have as a loaner down the range, right? So anyway, I put this post, and yes, I can completely understand how that post may have been interpreted as I'm buying a gun today. That's not what I said, but I could understand how the language may imply that if you interpreted it that way. And I guess either somebody phoned Hampshire or whatever, or Hampshire just had already started their monitoring of myself and social medias at that point. And you would think, okay, they have a concern. And yeah, they should act on a concern. If they believe somebody is in unlawful possession of a firearm, they should investigate that. They should be proactive about it. However, I would have thought a phone call would have sufficed. Oh, hi, Mr. Long Collins. You put this post out there. It sort of seems to suggest that you went and bought a gun the other day, and it would have taken me all of 30 seconds to explain to them, no, that was with a friend. Here's his name. Here's his SGC number, and you know, he bought it for me to be able to use at competition because we shoot regularly together. Check your system, because he was in Hampshire as well. Check your system. I'll give you the gun shop information. Well, you've got the gun shop information. Well, actually, by that point, they would have known what gun shop it was, and they could have looked at the Form 11. The Form 11 would have been already submitted, so they would have had all the details. So it was about 2 or 3 weeks after this post, bearing in mind, okay, forget that. It was 2 or 3 weeks after I did that post, right? So you'd think they'd waited 2 or 3 weeks. It wasn't exactly like it was an immediate rush to check if I was actually in unlawful possession of that firearm. And they would have had all the information to actually verify that it was a friend with a SGC that purchased it, not myself. But anyway, they chose to turn up in uniform on my doorstep on a Saturday morning to accuse me of being in possession of an unlawful possession of a firearm, which, from the off sort of got my back up. Like, well, hang on a minute. That's quite a serious accusation you've levied against me. And you've done this by a post that was made 2 or 3 weeks ago. I can't really see that you're taking it very seriously if you've left it 2 or 3 weeks. And you could have phoned. Like, you turned up here on a Saturday morning and it's been 2 or 3 weeks. I'm sure you could have, maybe just cleared this up over the phone. But no, that wasn't them taking the biscuit. What they then asked to do is, they said, do you still have a safe from when you had certificates? Yes, because I intend on getting the certificates back at some point. We'd like to see in your safe. Like, sorry, you've turned up in uniform on my doorstep on a Saturday morning to knock on my door and accuse me of being in possession of an illegal firearm based on some Facebook post 3 weeks ago, when you already have all the information to verify that wouldn't be the case. And now you think that I may be storing that illegal firearm in my safe. Right. So needless to say, I wasn't rude. I just highlighted the illogicality of their their accusation. But I complied. I, went up to where the safe was. I opened it up, and funnily enough, there wasn't an illegal firearm in it. And my quip at that point was, "Are you sure you don't want to check under my mattress?" Which they actually didn't. They didn't want to check under the mattress. But the point at which I politely asked them to leave was when I had it's one of those. It was one of those sort of B&Q safes. So I had my gun safe, and I had a B&Q safe on top of it for the ammunition. And he looks up at the the door of these things. You've probably seen them. They're like 40, 50 quid in B&Q, small. Like, you wouldn't be able to get a long gun in them, even disassembled. And he looks up at the ammunition safe and goes, "Can you open that one as well?" We're going, "Sorry, you're here because you think I'm in possession of a shotgun." So why, like, if a shotgun's not going to fit in there? And deadpan verbatim goes, "Yeah, but you could have a handgun." Okay, right. I think it's about time you left. Like, I'm sorry. I think it's a very, very thin ice for you being here in the first place, and now you're making completely uncertain. I can understand. I can completely understand misinterpreting that post, right? I think it's a bit over the top. You turning up at my doorstep, but now you're making seriously unfounded allegations against me. So I would like you to leave. So, you know, firm but fair. That's how, and I will always give them a chance. I will always be more than cooperative until they take the piss. So, you know, I'm not saying that's necessarily what everybody should do, but there is a line, and I'm pretty confident he overstepped that line, accusing me of being in possession of a handgun. Like, no, no, that's taking it a little bit too far. And funnily enough, it was that Stoker M3000 that that gun has seemingly caused myself a lot of issues. That's the same one that Hampshire seemed to believe was a Section 1, and actually sent another FEO around another person's house to test that it wasn't a Section 1. It's like, it is. Anyway, again, it doesn't seem to, you know, combinate in a cumulative effect of harassment. But anyway, that's it. That's Callum's story time for for this evening. Yeah, I've forgotten where we were going with that. FEO had a good swing on my safe. That is what they usually do. Oh, I've just highlighted Heppy's yes, because yes, we can have knives. AR platform is acceptable in 2.2 semi-auto, not 2.2 LR, 2.2 rimfire. So it can be 2.2 WMR as well. So any 2.2 rimfire in semi-auto, and tend to fire in straight pull or manual action, just not lever release or Mars. Can you get 2.2 LR AKs in the UK? Yes, you can. In semi-auto, none of them seem to work. Just ask range 23. I hope my grant arrives soon. 3 weeks since home visit and acceptance. I don't want to. I want to make sure that your expectations are adjusted. My period was 3 months after when it went for my initial application, successful application. It was 3 months after the interview that I finally got the tickets on the door. So, you know, it's not an immediate issue. Is 762 by 39 and 54539 plentiful in the UK? So 545 by 39 isn't something that I've purchased myself, but 762 by 39. Actually, I've never purchased 762 by 39. 762 by 39 I know is pretty easy to get a hold of. Aaron Teeth, 762 by 39 is more common, but 762 by 51 and 556 is way more common. 762 by 54R is also pretty easy to get hold of. I do miss my Mosin. David, although Pioneer Arms designed a 2.2 AK that looks and feels like a real AK with steel magazines, that's why I don't have suppressors or short-barreled rifles, because I don't want the ATF to do a random inspection at 5 p.m. I hope you don't have dogs either. Grays, oh well. Yeah, it's just managing. It literally might be already in the post. It depends on your firearms licensing. It's one of those, how long is a piece of string sort of questions. So busy tomorrow. It's I always look forward to it at the beginning of the year. It's the British Shooting Show this weekend. A great British Shooting Show held at the NEC in Birmingham. Unfortunately, we are all very, very busy boys at Magload. Paul's flying off to Germany this weekend. And, you know, Connors and I just seem to have more to do than we know what to do with. Even both of us, you know, freeing up a bit of our time more recently. So we won't be going. I think this is the first year that well, in a very long time, that we won't be doing like the full weekend or multiple days, but we are heading up to the British Shooting Show bright and early tomorrow. I think Connors will be picking me up at about 6 o'clock, joy, and we will be steaming our way up there. So yeah, if you are well, if you happen to be free tomorrow and don't have anything better to be doing, then check out the Great British Shooting Show. If you are at the British Shooting Show tomorrow, then we will be about. If you do see me, say hello. I don't bite unless you ask me to. Connor's it depends what mood he's in, whether he had a Pepsi and he's had food. But yeah, I always like the attending the British Shooting Show, and I do always try to be positive about it. It is turning more into a trade show. It isn't how it used to be at Stoneleigh, and I think I worked out. I think it might be the 10-year. I need to check this. It might be the 10-year anniversary of my first British Shooting Show. Show. When was the first video? 2015 was the first British Shooting Show that I went to, almost the 10 years. So I'll have to do a 10-year special next time. Yeah, it's not. It's not the same show, unfortunately, in Stoneleigh. Stoneleigh was very, sort of cottage industry, mum and pup shops. You got your proper gun shops of all different sizes there. There was such variety there, and now it does seem to be going more towards like IWA. It seems to be more consumed by by big distributors, by big retailers, and sort of the smaller stands seem to be being pushed out. Now, at the end of the day, we all know that British Shooting Show is in major competition with the national shooting show as it is now, which was the Northern Shooting Show. And like in some ways, I think it's good that the national shooting show, formerly known as the Northern Shooting Show, does seem to be going more one way, and the British Shooting Show more seems to go others. And it's sort of horses for courses. Like, and that's how they will both survive. The Northern Shooting Show is a proper good day out. You don't need to buy anything there to have a proper good day out. The British Shooting Show, unfortunately, there's not always a lot to do there. So it doesn't sort of have that day out appeal, and there's not a huge selection of different gun shops and sort of the same deals to be had as there used to be. But there is that huge trade element. You get to see all the latest and greatest before any other show. It is actually before IWA this year, so you're going to see new stuff even before IWA. So it's there is a huge advantage there. The reason that I still continue to go, well, firstly because of my love of shooting, and I would much rather be walking around a shooting show for a day than a day in the office. So that's always justification enough to go. But also I'm in the trade. Shooting is my full-time job, full-time career, and there's massive benefits for people in the trade to go to the British Shooting Show. And I would say there's a lot more sort of business and trade talk that goes on at the British Shooting Show than seems to be at the National Shooting Show. But there seems to be more shooting and buying going on at the National Shooting Show versus the British Shooting Show. So yeah, if you're in the trade, if you're in the industry, if you're super avid shooter, or you just want to have a look at the latest and greatest stuff and get hands on with something, then I think the British Shooting Show is we're certainly better than a day at work. But yeah, I find the draw for me being more because of the industry rather than me as a shooter. Whereas the national show, it's not about business. It's why I didn't do any filming there last year. Like, I like going, partly because we were running the UK PSA tri-shoot stand, so I didn't really have a lot of time. But I love going. For me, going to the national shooting show, it's not about business. It's about the love of shooting, and and getting properly hands on and firing off a few rounds during the day. Where the British shooting show, it's more commercial in a way. I think that's different. I really see the national shooting show going more consumer, and the British shooting show going more commercial. And if they don't like that summation, then they should stop doing it. But when you walk in and you see like 5 stands, but they're half the size of the hall, it sends a very, very clear message which direction that they're going. But anyway, does Magload not have a booth at the show? Happy at BSS stand prices? No, lol. That is part of it. That is absolutely part of it. The British Shooting Show has always been the most expensive show to attend in the UK. Can we afford to do it? Absolutely. Is it beneficial for us to do it? It gets into the realm of this whole, there's a saying that it's like 10% of marketing, only 10% of marketing is effective, but the person that is able to figure out what 10% would be a multi-billionaire, right? And for us attending shows, it's not always but certainly when we first started attending shows, it wasn't about the bottom line, right? It wasn't about how much money we're going to make. We wanted to see people, we wanted to show off what we did. It was about exposure, promotion, advertising, marketing. And we always saw after a show online orders have a massive spike. So people had come in, seen what we do, talk to us, understood a little bit more about the products or the selection or the variations or whatever, and then went away and then ended up buying it if they didn't necessarily buy it at the show. But we do have this niggle of it's still very expensive to go, and we are the majority of our business is online. Would we be to do the show? It's not just the stand fee. I believe the stand fee for the British Shooting Show is something around £1,800 for a 6x3. It might even be about £2.5 I can't remember. I was very surprised by the quotes that we got a few years ago. Let's just say it's £2,000 for a 6x3, which is our typical stand. That's not just the only cost, right? Because we'd have to rent a van. There's £300-400. We've got to have hotels for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and usually Sunday night as well, because usually you're too tired to be behind the wheel of a car. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 nights in a hotel for at least 4 people, because we need to bring in more people as well to help us out. You've got food expenses, there's usually ancillaries you need for the stand. So to do one of those shows, you're not going to get a lot of change usually out of £4,000 or £5,000, and that's for a reasonably small outfit, right? You got to sell a lot of product, and again, it's not about selling £5,000 worth of product, because the product still costs you stuff to make and package and develop. So depending on what your profit margins are, usually you're going to have to really walk away with a profit. You're probably going to be having to sell 10 or 15,000 pounds worth of stuff, and then you have to ask the question of, well, how many people would have actually just bought the stuff from the website anyway? So if we're going to end up sinking £5,000 into something, we know we get an instantaneous return if we put that in Facebook ads, we put that into Google ads, we put that into creating videos, creating media, email campaigns. There's so many other things that we know we get an absolute tangible tangible result from, and measurable and result from. So and then added to all of that, it's the work and the time that's involved in doing the shows, because we end up having to effectively pack up half of the workshop, which is a couple of days in the run up of the show, and then it's a couple of days after the show. So it's a good week's worth of work to attend one of these shows, and you are absolutely stuffed afterwards. Like, you know, you come back on that Sunday, you know, even if you come back Sunday evening, which normally would come back on a Monday, you come in on that Tuesday, and you know, from that Thursday, because you set up on the Thursday, shows on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know, come back on the Monday, back in Tuesday, you know, we still would have had online orders all through that weekend. So you come on Tuesday with a backlog of orders, the units in like disarray, nothing's where it needs to be, everything's boxed up or in the back of a van. It's a huge amount of work to be able to do. And yeah, for the past couple of years, we've just focused on the online, focused on the media and stuff like that. And but we do want to return. Unfortunately, there's other things this year going on, which means we can't even, we don't have the time to be able to just attend the British Shooting Show for the entire weekend as visitors, never mind exhibit there. And there's also a lot of stuff going on around the Northern Shooting Show, so like we can't commit to doing a full stand there this year. Next year we'll be back on the train, because again, it's not just about the amount of work and money and time that goes into it, or in terms of seeing a financial return. That there is for us an invaluable benefit in talking to people and meeting you guys, whether or not, you know, you're an existing customer that has every single product that we've ever made. We still want to, you know, meet you and talk to you and chat and engage. So you know, you can't put a price on that. It's just we've been focusing and prioritizing on other areas of the business. That's a really, really long, in-depth explanation of why we don't do the show, but that's really the nuts and bolts of it. The other thing as well, you know, we're sort of in the wrong area, because we're purely accessories. Yeah, we build guns for people. We sell guns. We do actually have a number of we don't tend to keep stock of guns at Magload, but we do tend to actually have at the moment quite a number of guns in available for purchase that I need to pull my finger out and get listed on arms, so online. So if anybody is interested in a race ready M2, a mag loaded 1522 that is pretty much brand new, a green GSG 1911, or an Armsan RSS1, which I found out are like rocking horse poo at the moment, then give us a bell, or a Strybog or Stryborg, or interested in a Strybog. I genuinely didn't mean to do it then. Yeah, we got a Strybog in for sale, Armsan RSS1, a 1522, and a raced out M2, and the M2 is being raced out. It's so if you jump in quickly enough, you can have it spec'd and modded exactly how you want it, but they will be listed soon. What I was getting to is that we're in the accessories business, and really at the British Shooting Show, unless you're selling the likes of optics or premium handmade leather handbags, the business there is in guns. Right, that's how you really pay for having a stand at the British Shooting Show, is by selling guns. We don't tend to sell a lot of them. We're also, you know, practical, you know, shooting is like that, and practical shooting is like that. We're in too much of a niche, and you know, a lot of people make the quip of it's the Great British Shotgun Show, and there is an element of truth to that. So it's sort of the wrong market. Anyway, there's loads of reasons. I'm making excuses. We will do it at some point. It is something that I want to tick off, just not this year. Anyway, never get me started. Oh, as Mr. Neil Rack and Load has dropped in. Thanks for joining. I'm sure Mr. Rack and Load will be at the British Shooting Show tomorrow. If you're there, Neil, let's try and hook up. It's been a while since we've caught up. Unless a show at least breaks even, it isn't worth it. Yeah, we always wipe our faces. We've never lost money doing a show, but we do seriously question. It's like, it was a lot of work for a comparatively small return. And certainly when you compare that return to online advertising. I found last year that the days of shooting show deals gone, probably due to the amount they charge the dealers for the stands. Absolutely couldn't agree more, Ian. I think that's a big part of it. I get the aspiration to go to NEC. That again, I think this is all part of the British Shooting Show moving more towards a trade show, moving more towards IWA. And it's great to see. It's great to see a shooting show sustainable at the NEC. And they've been there since, I think, 2017, 2018. So they've been there a number of years and, have done well there so far. But they should go back to Stoneleigh, right? They should go back and find a smaller, more like homely feeling sort of event center, get it cheaper. Yes, your GMKs and Vikings and Sportsman Gun Center won't be able to have their big extravagant stands. Like, okay, I get it. And ultimately those are the people that they're making the money from. So that's why they have them at the NEC, because they're prioritizing those people. The GMKs want to have those big stands and big presence and all of that. And that can only really be achieved at the NEC. So it makes sense. I understand why they're doing it. But Stoneleigh, why isn't anybody doing a show? It's such a shame that the likes of the Target Shooting Show folded. That's what we needed. We needed that sort of more homely, small, mum and pop sort of show where smaller businesses could justify going. So yeah, it's very expensive for them to do these shows because they're at the NEC, and it puts off a lot of people. I missed the thing about suppressors. Are there any stats of the responses? Not. I think it was literally only released yesterday, so there's no stats so far. What time do you call this? Just remember, Neil, we can have knives. Off topic, Canon for PM and Trump for president. That is a world I want to live in. I got my licenses back after 9 months, but didn't get any explanation as to why my guns were removed from me. You should put in a what do they call it? Subject access request. Basically, you have a right to access to any information about you that the police holds. I believe it's called a subject access request. Put one in. Any documentation, any notes that they have, any email correspondence between departments about yourself, they have to hand over. So, if asking nicely and politely isn't working, tell them. It is your legal right to obtain any information that they hold about yourself. So put in that request. You will get it. FEO said should have mine in 2 to 3 weeks after a visit on Friday. Great to hear, Frank. Does Connors ever stream or make videos anymore? It's purely about just time, really. It's firstly we do sort of have lives outside shooting. I do want to get him back on stream. The reason that the streams are on a Thursday is because of him in the first place. So yeah, and Restream is brilliant because I could he doesn't actually have to be here physically. I could bring him in. I will talk to him tomorrow. I did say we will do a bourbon and cigar night for the OnlyFans. Not the OnlyFans, the Only ES fans. That's incentive. So if you want to support the channel and have an exclusive bourbon and cigar live stream with Connors and myself, I think it's like 8 of you at the moment, then join the Only ES fans. We will do that soon. But yeah, we'll get Connors back on. In terms of Connors making videos, I need to make videos first before he starts doing that again. Hopefully I'll be able to get some at the British Shooting Show. I'm almost tempted not to film just to sort of enjoy it, but as I speak, the gimbal is charging, and I'll make sure my batteries are charged for tomorrow as well. I do intend to do some videos. There are a few that I want to do, but yeah, there's we've both found over the last couple of weeks since stepping back from the UK PSA. We already have a hell of a lot more spare time. We're just enjoying it at the at the moment. It's like, whew, it just feels like that. Certainly the last year, but the last, yeah, the last, well, probably 18 months just has felt like no free time at all, and we're finally, we've dropped something off, and it feels like, yeah, we've just got that breathing space now, and I fully intend to fill that with videos again. I've got a review of the Smizer 9mm that has been sat in edit for God knows how long, and God knows how many match videos now in back edit. So I'm still driven to do videos. I'm still more driven than ever to do videos for the channel and share the sport. And you know, Connor's is as well. We just need to we just need to enjoy the spare, you know, finish enjoying the spare time we've got and fill it with making videos. I missed the thing. Oh, already been over that. Sunday for you. Am I going to IWA? No, unfortunately not. Again, other commitments and responsibilities. Unfortunately, it's a shame because we really wanted to go. We loved it last year. We actually we signed up to have a standout in IWA, and had to pull back on that purely because we just didn't have the time or ability to do it. But this, yeah, this year is going to be a bit of a fallow year for us in terms of shows and all of that. But next year we will hit it hard. Any update about the UK PSA? Not that I am aware. Not my problem. It's, to put it simply. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? The run up to the AGM, everyone campaigns on more transparency and communication, and yet again, there's nothing. Every gun owner should have at least one commie gun in their collection. I tick that box. I got the Mosin, and it genuinely is the gun I miss the most. In terms of update on the UK PSA, it depends on what specific update you wanted. I don't know. Again, I'd ask the council. I'm not on there anymore. Happy. Any knife progress update? Sorry. Mag process update. Sorry, 2 secs.
Hello, this is Bourbon monitoring services. You monitor the alarm at your Globe Limited, Unit 7 Beaver Industrial Estate, DO9, 1J. Communication failure in
Bear with me. No, we are all good. I hope. I'm pretty sure. Anyway, apologies for that interruption. There are just some numbers that when they ring, I do need to pick up, even at 11:15 at night. Yes, I ticked off the commie box with my Mosin, which is still the gun that I miss the most. It took me 2 years to ask Thames Valley Police for my data. They refused. It will take another year and a half to take that through the court. Wow. Well, you should win. They can't. It's your data. Mag progress update. We are literally waiting for the call from the new injection molders to pick up the first offs of the magazines. It is just typical. Like everything possible that could go wrong with these magazines go wrong. So this place, super professional, unlike the other place that we used. Really good guys. Hits deadline. I've used them in previous work before, and they hit deadlines. The guy that does the tool machining is also a motocross rider and is currently in a half body cast, which is just typical, you know. So there has been a little bit of a delay because of that. He's a man down, a significant man down, but I believe the tooling have been finished now. I forgot to acknowledge that one. 2 secs. There we go. Yeah, so it's like, yeah, it's anything that could go wrong does. So tooling's been made. We are literally, it's due to go on the machines any day now. As soon as it does, we will get a call. We will head up there, get the first offs, head down the range. We're pretty hopeful that the first offs are going to be good, and we're literally just going to give them a call the same day and go, yeah, run them, and don't stop them. There may be additional changes. They can do the changes fairly quickly. So this is why we've said February/March, because if the first ones come off and they're fine and no changes are needed, then it will be February. If changes are needed, then it will push us into March. But yeah, everything's still on schedule. Literally waiting for that call any day. Have you seen the Lantac Onyx? Have people that have ordered the Lantac Onyx actually seen it yet, or are they still waiting? Oh, sorry, did I say that out loud? Why am I just looking at it? It's a gun channel. Let's have a Lantac Onyx multicam straight pull. Yeah, cool. Looks nice. Yeah, it will take you 6 years to get one, but and if it goes wrong, good luck. Rifle rifle that's manufactured highest quality standards, assembled by a skilled team of rifle builders, shot and tested out and comes with a lifetime warranty against defects. With a massive specification out of the box. I mean, it looks cool. Like I've, to be honest, I've never had an issue with Lantac products at all. They make really decent high-end stuff. Do I leave it there? I don't. Yeah, I don't have a problem with their. Well, that's compact. Let's look at the FDE version. It looks nice. It looks like a bloody nice rifle, and I'm sure it's absolutely tip top. But even when you make the best guns out there, they go wrong. And the true mark of a company is when things go wrong. And I've said before, like at Magload, we don't get it perfect by any. We don't get it perfect all the time, right? By any stretch. But we take great pride in fixing it if stuff does go wrong. In no matter how it may go wrong, right? You run a business, you make products. There are going to be mistakes. There are going to be oopsies. It happens, right? It doesn't matter how good your products are, and unfortunately, Lantac take the approach of our products are so good that we don't need customer service. Yeah, you do. But yeah, looks like a cool gun. I wouldn't buy one. I recommend the LASF 15 to people all the time. I'm recommending the gun, not the company. For me, I would always be rather giving my money to Otto at Cotswold Classic Arms or to Mr. Smith & Wesson. I don't like supporting companies with bad customer service. That's just me, and I think everybody agrees. Whilst their rifles are good, the service isn't always matching. But anyway, you on our new platform yet? When you say new platform, I am on reckonload.com. I haven't. Is it new? Is there updates? I will have a look. I will check it out. With what's going on at Facebook at the moment, we probably do need to ensure that I'm established on Rackaload just in case. Magload as well, because people seem to be dropping like flies. Who is it? It was Land Warrior Sports. They got pulled off of Facebook for no reason whatsoever. David Purdy, yes, it is. It is a very, very good. It is a very, very good rifle. Why are ARs so expensive nowadays? Because the quality of them have increased. Like previously, people used to gawp when there was a 2.2 AR above £1,000. It was like, oh, why would you ever spend more than £1,000 on a 2.2 AR? Well, the market's progressed, and I think it's fantastic. I think it's great to see that, you know, people are continuously selling guns, you know, AR-22s for £2,500–3,000 and above. Like, it shows the market's growing. It shows people are investing more in this industry. So, and of course, I might be slightly biased because, you know, I'm in the industry as well. But it's a sign of the industry growing, not shrinking. Anyway, I do need to be up very, very early tomorrow to be collected by Connors and head up to the British Shooting Show again. If you're there tomorrow and you see me, please do grab me and say hello or drop me a message, and I'll try my best to meet up. R&T customer service has improved from what I've heard. Well, I haven't heard anything negative in a while, so perhaps they have. Just as a reminder, of course, the sound moderator consultation, go and have your responses, or submit your responses if you haven't already. Before you all go, make sure you've liked the stream, make sure you are subscribed. Thank you, everybody. I need to make sure I'm ready to end. I end up doing this all the time and turning things off, and it doesn't. See, look, and I'll just, there we go. Just make sure it's that awkward, you know. Anyway, waiting on getting new AR mags from Magload for my new acquisition. Hopefully that will be very soon. We do have mag pouches coming out soon. I don't know if I have said that recently. We did a post about it. People have asked us for magazine pouches long before we actually started on this process of trying to have our own magazines made. They will be dropping anytime soon. So you're going to have absolutely everything you need for your magazines apart from the magazines. That's just like that's how we like to roll. So if you're interested in the first 1522 mag pouches from us, then keep an eye on our Facebook page and website. They will be dropped very, very soon. But yeah, anyway, early start tomorrow. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Make sure you're liked, you're subscribed. So see you same time, same place next weekend. If you go to the show this weekend, hope you enjoy it. If you see me there, come and say hello. And of course, as always, thanks for joining, and hope to see you soon.